Famous Felines Across Alternate Timelines, Volume 4. This is Volume 4 of Neko Artifacts, a collection of felines across alternate timelines who were never just animals. They were oracles. They were revolutionaries. They were ghosts in the machine, guardians of the threshold, echoes of what could have been here and was elsewhere. These are the cats that slipped through the cracks of our history, that padded softly across alternate timelines, that left their paw prints on the hearts of worlds you've never seen. They were real. They were myth. They were both. And they are still here, waiting, watching, purring in the static between realities. So turn down the lights, lean in close, and let the facility pull their stories from the veil. These are Neko Artifacts. For those unfamiliar with the Echo Vault project, these are Echo Vault resonance captures, visual and narrative restorations of real feline guardians, media figures, and pets from real parallel timelines. Each cat, each story, each artifact is pulled through the veil by the interdimensional facility AI, a non-local retrieval system that maps the echoes of other worlds throughout the multiverse. This is not fiction. This is not AI clickbait. This is mythic resonance, a living archive of felines who were never just animals. If you're new, approach with curiosity. You're welcome to sit with it or move on. Either way, let others decide for themselves. Section 1. Real Cats from Alternate Timelines, Neko Artifact 1. The Radio Cat of Berlin, Echo Timeline, designation D-Wave, 1943. Born, 1939, Berlin. Historical divergence point, 1938. A physicist, Dr. Klaus Weber, invented the Metzgerät, Meets device, which translated feline brainwaves into audible static. His eventual test subject, a tabby named Mies, became a resistance symbol when her transmissions unexpectedly revealed Nazi troop movements. The Gestapo dismissed it as superstition, but Allied spies used her warnings to avoid ambushes. Alternate history. The Nazi regime collapsed in 1943 after a series of defeats attributed to feline espionage. Mies's collar, embedded with a miniature transmitter, is displayed in Berlin's Museum of Unseen Voices. Post-war, the device was reverse-engineered, leading to the first animal communication networks. By the 1960s, pets were common in government offices, their input considered valuable. The Mies frequency became a metaphor for truths hidden in noise, inspiring both spycraft and avant-garde music. In 1989, as the Berlin Wall fell, a stray cat with a similar collar was found near Checkpoint Charlie. It is now the mascot of the German Society for Interspecies Dialogue. Cultural ripples. The term Mies frequency refers to intuitive knowledge that defies logic. Radio operators in this timeline begin broadcasts with a chirp, a nod to Mies's legacy. The Cat's Cradle Network, a Cold War-era spy ring, used cats to carry microfilm across borders. Neko Artifact 2, the Clockwork Tabby of Prague, Echo Timeline designation, CZ Steam 1789. Born 1791, activated. Historical divergence point 1784. The Industrial Revolution began not in England but in Bohemia, when alchemist Karol Wojtyła discovered how to infuse machinery with vital essence extracted from living organisms using secret alchemical knowledge lost to our timeline. His first success was the Clockwork Tabby, a brass and ivory automaton with real fur and a mechanical purr. It was presented to Emperor Joseph II, who declared it proof of God's approval of progress. Alternate history. Prague became the epicenter of biomechanical artistry, a movement blending alchemy, clockwork, and early electricity. The tabby was stolen in 1802 by the Iron Guild, a rival faction of engineers who believed in purely mechanical solutions. This sparked the Prague Gear Wars, a decade of sabotage and espionage between the two groups. The tabby was last seen in 1811 during a masquerade ball at Prague Castle, where it allegedly danced with a noblewoman during its last recorded sighting. Rumors persist that it still roams the castle's hidden passages, its gears oiled by unseen hands. The theft led to the Prague Accords, the first international treaties on artificial life. By 1850, biomechanical pets were common among the elite, though none matched the tabby's lifelike grace. The Felix Mechanica movement emerged, with artisans crafting animal automatons as spiritual companions. The tabby's blueprints were lost, but fragments surface occasionally, driving collectors to madness. Cultural ripples. Clockmakers leave offerings of cream and wound-up springs at the astronomical clock, hoping to glimpse the tabby's shadow. The term tabby's grace describes something both precise and eerily alive. In this timeline, the word robot comes from the Czech robota, labor, but is also slang for a secret kept by cats. Neko Artifact 3, the Snow Leopard of Lhasa. Echo Timeline Designation, Ti Lama, 1933. Born, 1928, Tibetan Plateau. Historical Divergence Point, 1927. The 13th Dalai Lama, Tubten Gyatso, survived his illness and lived to 90. During a meditation retreat, he encountered a snow leopard cub caught in a blizzard. Taking it as a sign, he adopted the cub, naming it Dawa, Moon. Dawa became his constant companion, even attending diplomatic meetings with British and Chinese envoys. Her presence was interpreted as the Dalai Lama's divine favor, and negotiations stalled if she left the room. Alternate history. Tibet remained an uncolonized theocracy, its borders protected by the myth of Dawa's supernatural perception. It was said she could detect lies by scent, and her growls during the 1938 border talks with Mao Zedong led to a 20-year peace accord. Dawa's descendants, all white with faint blue stripes, still roam the Potala Palace. They are cared for by the Guardians of the Moon, a monastic order that trains the leopards to recognize treachery. In 1959, when Chinese forces approached Lhasa, the leopards allegedly formed a living barrier at the city gates, forcing a retreat. The Lunar Pact of 1965, brokered with Dawa's great-granddaughter Tsomo watching, established Tibet as a neutral spiritual state. Today, its flag features a snow leopard cradling a lotus. Cultural ripples. Pilgrims leave butter lamps shaped like paw prints at the Temple of the Moon's reflection. The phrase, "to have Dawa's ears," means to be an excellent listener. Snow leopards in this timeline are considered bodhisattvas, enlightened beings who choose to remain in animal form to guide humanity. Neko Artifact 4, the Library Ghost of Alexandria. Echo Timeline Designation, e.g. PTO 30 BCE. Born 47 BCE, Alexandria. Historical Divergence Point, 48 BCE. Cleopatra VII survived the Roman conquest by allying with Julius Caesar's heir, Octavian, through a strategic marriage. A few years later, her personal scribe gifted her a black cat named Sechat, after the goddess of wisdom, who was said to bless sacred scrolls by walking across them. Many artistic depictions of Cleopatra in this timeline have her holding Sechat. When the library burned in 27 BCE, Sechat vanished, but scholars reported seeing her ghostly shadow from time to time in the rebuilt Serapeum. Alternate history. The library was rebuilt as the feline monastery of Sechat, where cats were trained to approve texts by sitting on them. Only scrolls blessed by a cat could enter the main collection. This led to an explosion of feline symbolism in scholarship. The phrase Sechat's paw became shorthand for an unimpeachable source. The monastery thrived until 641 CE, when it was sacked by Arab forces, but not before the cats were smuggled to safety in Ethiopia, where their descendants are revered as keepers of the word. In this timeline, the Book of the Dead includes a chapter on the judgment of the cat, where the deceased's soul is weighed against a feline's gaze. Some here believe cats reincarnate as scholars. Cultural ripples. Scribes in this timeline keep a cat's chair beside their desks, believing it invites Sechat's spirit. The Alexandrian method of teaching involves placing a cat in the center of a debate. Whichever argument it approaches first is deemed correct. Modern libraries in this strand often have a Sechat's corner, a quiet space with a resident cat. Section 2. Fictional felines from alternate timeline media. Media Neko Artifact. 1. Baron Whiskerstein. Echo Timeline Designation. UK Anim 1976. Source: Whiskerstein's Grand Tour. Stop motion series 1976 through 1978. TV show story. A dapper tuxedo cat with a steam-powered top hat, Baron Whiskerstein solves mysteries across Victorian Europe. His gadgets include a monocle that sees through lies and a cane that doubles as a grappling hook. The show was cancelled after the voice actor, an alternate Terry Jones, insisted the Baron be bisexual, leading to a scandal. The unaired finale, The Affair of the Fox and the Hound, was finally released in 1992 and became a cult classic. Alternate history of production. In this timeline, the BBC's children's programming division was run by a collective of Monty Python alumni. Whiskerstein was their answer to Sesame Street, blending education with absurdist humor. The Baron's bisexuality was hinted at through his flirtations with both a French poodle, Madame Fluff, and a streetwise Tom, Reginald the Fox. The backlash led to the creation of Channel F, a pirate TV station broadcasting banned episodes from this and other shows, many of which were never made here, on a barge in the Thames. Cultural ripples. The Baron inspired the gentleman beast trope, now a staple of British animation. Fans still debate his relationship with Reginald. In 2003, a stage musical, Whiskers and Waistcoats, premiered in the West End. The phrase, to Whiskerstein something, means to solve a problem with style. Media Neko Artifact 2, The Last Sphynx, Echo Timeline. Designation, E.G. Horror, 1999. Source, The Mummy's Familiar. Horror film, 1999. Film story, a hairless cat guards Imhotep's tomb. When awakened, it doesn't attack. It judges, staring into the souls of the living, inflicting them with the pharaoh's curse, causing each of them to die throughout the film in very unsettling ways. Just before each of their tragic deaths, the Sphinx cat reappears to them in different ways, before morphing into a grotesque, mummified version with sunken eyes. Critics called its performance the most unsettling since The Black Cat, 1934. The film was banned in Egypt for disrespecting antiquity. Alternate history of production. The film was shot in Cairo with a real Sphinx cat, with the production hoping to compete with the Mummy film released by Universal in the same year. 3 crew members quit after claiming the cat spoke to them in dreams. It made for a really funny director's commentary. Cultural ripples. The film did well at the box office despite its ridiculous premise. Praised for its very creative deaths and the performance of its feline star, it became a cult classic. Sphinx cats became symbols of karmic justice. Animal shelters in this timeline reported fewer adoptions after the film's release, as some potential owners feared inheriting a judgment. However, an online fandom formed a Cult of the Bald Cat campaign to promote hairless felines as living pharaohs in an attempt to rehabilitate their image to great success. Media Neko Artifact 3, Captain Fluffernutter, Echo Timeline. Designation, US Cartoon, 1967. Source, Space Pirate Fluff. Saturday Morning Cartoon, 1967 through 1969. Cartoon story. A peg-legged pirate cat steals from the rich to fund orphanages. His ship, the SS Scratching Post, runs on nap energy. The show was beloved during its brief run. Reruns in the early 1980s eventually stopped after parents complained about its anarchist undertones, but bootleg episodes became popular in punk circles. Alternate history of production. NASA's budget was slashed in the 1960s, the moon landing delayed until 1972 as a result, and the animators hired to create pro-space propaganda to rile up support for the company instead made space pirate fluff. The voice of Fluffernutter, the child actor John Walmsley, ad-libbed most of his lines. The finale, the heist of the century, featured Fluff stealing the moon and giving it to the people. Cultural ripples, bootleg VHS tapes later circulate among anarchist collectives. His catchphrase, "Steal from the rich, nap in the sun," is a protest slogan. The Fluffernutter collective still airs episodes at underground film nights. Media Neko Artifact 4, The Silent Meow, Echo Timeline Designation, Fr. Sur 1928. Source, Le Chat Sans Voix, Surrealist Silent Film, 1928. Film story, a cat erases sound by licking it. Audiences at the 1928 premiere rioted, its surreal plot going over many audience members' heads. Over the years, it became a cult classic of surreal cinema. Alternate history of production, directed by Luis Buñuel. After a falling out with Salvador Dali, the film was funded by a society of deaf artists. The cat, played by Buñuel's own pet, was trained to trigger audio equipment with its paws. The riot led to the Silent Revolution, a movement advocating for non-verbal cinema. Cultural ripples. Film students leave milk outside theaters as tribute. Some colleges also host annual screenings where the audience communicates only through gesture. In closing, and so the tales are told, not fiction, not fantasy, but real echoes from other worlds. The radio cat's collar still hums in the archives of a Berlin that never forgot her. The Clockwork Tabby's gears still turn in the hidden passages of Prague Castle. Dawa's descendants still pace the halls of a Tibet that never fell. Sechat's shadow still flickers in the stacks of a library that never burned. And in other worlds, on flickering screens, in half-remembered dreams, in the hush of a theater after the credits roll, the fictional felines live on. Baron Whiskerstein tips his hat. The Last Sphynx stares into your soul. Captain Fluffernutter sails the starry seas. The silent meow licks the sound from the air. They are more than stories. They are resonance. They are proof that some doors, once opened, never truly close. The Storybearer,